Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in our previous lesson we talked about the system design, the Django project structure, and also we deployed our application via Heroku. So in this one we want to do the project some justice by working on the USSD application. Our main objective today is to display a dynamic menu based on the user's registration status. Just to give you a sneak peek of the project, I'll go into my Africa stocking simulator, then enter my registered phone number here. Then I'll run my service code. So as you can see, a registered user will be able to see a menu with the menu items of loan application, loan repayment, also the loan limit, and an option to request for statement. Now let's look for a menu for somebody who is not registered. Dial the service code once again. Now this is an unregistered user in the system, so you will get an option to register first before you can see the menu for the registered user. So that is the objective for today. So we are not going to work with the database just yet, we're just going to work with the views, and then in the next video I'm going to show you how you can actually save your records into the database. So with that said, let's jump into the code. So over here in my Visual Studio Code, I have my Django project set up. In our previous lesson we created all these applications. Then inside my urls.py, that's the project level URL, I have my USSD application included. Then inside the application over here I have my URL set up. Then the main part that we're going to work on is the views. So inside my view I already have some code in here that is just the importation of the modules that we need. We also have our view over here, it's called the USSD view, which is just basically returning an HTTP response. So over here is where we want to do all the logic. So the first one that we want to work with is the checking if the user is registered. So over here in my USSD handlers, this is where I'm going to create all my files that will handle each and every specific function. For example, the loan repayment, mini statements, I'm not just going to put them together in a single view, but instead I'm going to create them in a separate directly. That's the USSD handlers. Then for the messages, I'm going to put them inside a constant.py file so that they can be dynamic. I can just call them in whatever file that I want to use them in. So the first thing that we need to do is that we need to do just a simulation of whether a user is registered into the system or not. And to be able to do that, all we need to do is to just create a variable over here for registered user. Just call it registered. It's not the right spelling. Registered user. Then we are going to create a list. Over here, let's add my number. 7. Okay, then we can now just set a variable to check if the user is registered. So we can say is registered user. Now phone number is whatever the phone number that was passed with the request. So is registered user, we just check if the phone number is inside the registered user list. So once we have that, we want to check if the user is not registered, we want to display a dynamic menu, and if the user is registered in the system, we want to give it another menu. So the way we're going to do that is by saying if, by using an if statement. So if not registered, if not registered. So if the user is not registered, we are going to check on something. We want to check on the text. The text is whatever the number that the user has selected. For example, 1 is for loan application, 2 is for repayment, 3 is for checking the mini statements. So you want to just check on the text. So if the text is blank, which means the user just dialed the service code. So if text is blank, then we want to give it a response of the welcome new user. So that is the first time user, so we're just going to handle it like that. Else, if there's something inside the text, we want to handle the user registration. So the user registration is just a file that I've created inside our USSD handlers over here. Then we need to import it just like that. That is the USSD handlers.registration. Then we need to import the handle registration function just like that. Else, now for registered users, now let's handle the registered users by just running this code. Let's handle the registered users by performing another if check. So if the text is blank, we just want to welcome the user with the registered message for the user. So all the messages are over here in our constants, so you can check all the message for the registered users. You can see that. Welcome back to FlexiCash. We have the option to apply loan, repay loan, and also to check the limit. And then for non-registered users, we just import this message over here. So that is what is happening with this one. Instead of manually hard coding them inside the views, we're just putting them inside the constants. Then that is for a blank text. Now what if there's a text that the user has dialed, which means the user has selected an option? So we want to just use another elif statement. So elif the text part 0 is equal to 1, so which means the user has selected 1. Then what you want to do is that you want to give a response of loan application. So if the user selects 1, then we just want to give it the repay loan handler. But before that, we have to import them. So after the registration, we need to import the one for apply loan. Apply loan, then it's called apply loan. Then we also need to import the repay loan. Then repay loan, it's actually apply, not whatever I just did there. Okay, let's check what's happening. It should be apply, not capital Y's. So back to our views, let's just say apply loan. And then the last one, let's import the check limit, check loan limit. Then the name of the func is called check loan limit. That should do it. We have the repay loan, we have the registration. Yeah, that should do it. So let's come back over here. Let's give it a response of apply loan. So if the user selects 1, we have apply loan. Then remember to pass in the request. Give it a request. The session ID. The request, the session ID, and the phone number. The text, not the text part, but the text. Right, so that is done. So if the user selects 1, we want the apply loan. So if the user selects 2, so elif, then we just want to give it a response of repay loan. Then the third one, based on our constant, we have the check loan limit. So another elif statement, response check loan limit. The fourth one should be mini statement. So mini statement is equal to 4. We are not done yet. We need one for mini statement. So I did not import the mini statement one. Let's import it here at the top. So mini statement, then mini statement handler. Just rename it to mini statement instead. Let's go into mini statement. Let's get rid of this handler name. Then back to our views, give it a response of mini statement. So we have the mini statement, give it the request, session ID, text and phone number. And now let's handle one more thing, that is if the response is invalid. No, we're not done yet. We have one more, that is response is equal to 5. So text part 1, text part 2, text part, the third one. We also got the fifth, the fourth. Then the fourth should be the is equal to 5. Then what are we going to say? Constant.exit message. And then let's close it up with the else. Let's just say response. That one was invalid message. What was the name of the message here? Invalid option. So if the user enters an invalid option, we will get that. Now let's go to our Africa stocking simulator to test our application. So over here I'm just going to enter my phone number 0799043853. So let's connect. Then let's run the service code. So I'm going to paste that one. And now you can see that we have the menu for registered users because that phone number is inside our registered users list. But if I were to change it with something that it's not there, so let's go ahead and change that number. Now let's enter a different phone number. If we connect, now let's run the service code. And now you see that we have the welcoming message for an unregistered user. So that was the whole objective of today's video. We've managed to see how you can set up a dynamic menu based on the user's registration status. So in the upcoming video we'll be learning how we can save the users with the credentials, for example the first name, the last name, the email, the phone number, the pins, and then we'll be able to query from the database if the user is registered or not. So stay tuned for the upcoming videos. So that is it for today's video. I want to mention that we do have a podcast that is called the Dev Cycle Podcast, where we talk about the latest tech trends and also dev insights. So if you want to level up your skills and stay ahead of the curve, be sure to check it out. So that's it for today guys. See you in the next one.